Stress made simple. Excited to bring this to you. Stress is in our everyday life. It swirls around us. There's a lot of external stress coming inward, and there's a lot of internal stress in our mind and in our body that we hold on to, and some do a lot better than others when it comes to managing their stress. There's lots of different skills and coping mechanisms and strategies and different behaviors that you can learn and use and apply to your everyday life to make it a lot easier and better for you to manage. And we're going to dive into that today to help make stress less impactful on you and your everyday. All right, today's agenda. We're going to define stress, what causes stress, what are the symptoms of stress, and then stress management. How do we actually cope and deal with the things that are happening in our life to us as a person? So, stress. As you see on this slide, what we have is swirling papers, running around, someone standing at their computer, go figure, and they look like they have a headache and a scrunch face, and they feel a bit stressed out. It looks like a whirlwind. And that's what a lot of people deal with on an everyday situation. So the definition of stress, it's any type of change that causes physiological, emotional, physical strain, psychological strain, relationship strain. There's a lot of ways that stress changes our actions, our behaviors in life. Now, we have say flipping of a coin. One side of the coin, it's manageable. It's perceived positively. It can help lead to growth, taking action, having positive change in your everyday life. We learn and grow from stress. The greatest businesses, the greatest people, the greatest accomplishments in our world came from some sort of stress. And they were able to push through and create something really fantastic that even say Apple. I have Apple products. They push through a lot of stress all the time to innovate and make new technology for us to be able to communicate better. And even 10 years ago, this type of format was significantly reduced, and now it's commonplace. Now, there's also chronic stress. This is negatively perceived stress that can lead to a lower quality of life. With that, we don't want that in our lives from external sources or internal sources as well. Now, on our body, there's a lot that is happening here. We have short-term and we have long-term type stresses, certain processes of how it goes. Now, we have a short-term stress. The hypothalamus perceives the stress. It sends signals to your spinal cord that sends nerve signals to your adrenal medulla, and then it secretes adrenaline or noradrenaline, which then leads to increasing your blood sugar levels to, say, fight or flight. It helps get your heart rate and blood pressure up. You breathe faster. Your metabolism turns on. Your focus and attention is heightened. Slower digestion and other kidney functions and other organ operations start to slow down because this is in a very acute. Think of a tiger off in the woods. Like, I'm ready to run in this situation because of what is out there, the stress, the external stress. Now, stress can show up in a lot of different ways. Long term. So this goes through the hypothalamus that releases ACTH to the anterior pituitary gland, and then it sends that to the adrenal cortex, which secretes cortisol and aldosterone, which then leads to higher blood volume, higher blood pressure, higher blood sugars, immune suppression, cardiovascular disease, even potentially kidney failure. So living in a chronic state of stress really greatly impacts how you show up in your healthy body. It causes cortisol, and it causes you to really just become sick over time, basically. It's in a diseased state, a disconnected state with what your ultimate overall goals are for your life and to live a happy, healthy life. So acute stress. I think of that tiger off in the distance there. Something that happens right now. It could be even getting an email. It could be getting a text. It could be you're driving a car and all of a sudden you have to stop quickly or swerve, or an animal runs out, or your children. I'm 40, I have 4 kids, and there's always an acute stress happening when the kids are. Last night, my second oldest, Everett, he kept doing, he loves dance, and he's very artistic, and he does singing and all this stuff. He just had this song and dance going around. He just wouldn't stop. It's 9:15 at night. It's bedtime, Everett. Why are we doing this song and dance? And it was stressful because I've had a very busy day. My wife has had a very busy day. And at this point in time, human behavior and the way we've structured our house is stating that it's time for bed. So he's just having a blast and just had, it's a positive acute stress, but nonetheless, it can be seen as stress. Now, short-term form that can be positive or distressing, the acute stress. Most common form encountered daily, so you're always having some form of acute stress happening on the regular. That's how we operate as humans. There's always stimulus that we have to respond to, and we can relate that to positive or negative stress. Thrills and motivates you in small doses. So you get excited, you get that dopamine hit, and you feel really good about what's happening. And it does not typically harm the body. Examples that we have: engaging in an adventure sport, and that in itself, or getting outside or doing some activity, is a very positive acute form of stress. Running late, on the other hand, is stressful and isn't as ideal for that. That will cause distress in your body. Interviewing for a job, that can be seen 2 different ways depending on how you view that. It could be the glass is half full type of a stress of like, wow, I have this great, amazing opportunity. I'm nervous. I'm excited about talking to these people to try to get this job. Or it can be stressful of like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to get in. I just got to hand in my resume and try not to mess up the interview. That's the flip side of the coin in that scenario. That is very stressful situation then if you approach it that way. Deadlines. Deadlines definitely can be positive or negative. A positive deadline could be you are prepared for a 5K and you've spent the last 3 months training and being dedicated and focused to moving your body and eating healthier and getting sleep and stretching and all these activities that lead up to you running your best in this race. Or deadline at work. Friday you have the good old Office Space GPS report due, and it's a million pages long, and there's all this pressure on getting it right perfectly, and that can be very distressing to you. Now, some episodic acute stress. So let's define what that means. It's acute stress periods coupled with anxiety, some chaos or really high alertness. There's regularly repeated episodes of rising mental stress levels, and it affects your physical and mental health well-being. Examples, we have relationship difficulties. Sure, sometimes things are going well, but then there's stress and strain in the relationship, which causes periods of time of stress, 1 to 4 days of stress between the relationship, lack of communication, and a positive, loving environment. Financial instability. Say the car broke down and now you have a $500 car bill to pay off. That can cause some stress for that time frame until you can rebound from it if it was unexpected. Or you didn't have the money set aside like we all should. We should all be good stewards of saving money for emergency situations so that, yeah, it sucks that you have to get your car fixed, but also the car gets you places and we need it working so you can go make more money and you have money set aside for that. Stressful job situations such as firefighter, police. Actually, my last client that I talked with literally was a Boston patrolman. He manages a varied amount of acute stress in any one day, but then we could even say that could be chronic over a 20-year time frame if someone was on the streets for that long dealing with a lot of stress. Having a worry-prone personality. So you can totally get yourself caught up in a headspin around worry and having anxiety-like thoughts, and ultimately leading to procrastination, which then intensifies this worry-prone activity. Now, chronic stress, it's prolonged, it's constant feeling of stress, difficulty seeing a way out. You just don't know if it's ever going to end. Body remains in a state of physiological arousal. So there's this constant cortisol getting released into the body. Your fight or flight system is going. Your adrenal glands are producing and pumping out. It negatively impacts your health and a quality of life. So you just literally are weighed down, in a sense, around this. Now, examples, traumatic life experiences, certainly death is one, divorce, breaking up in a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend is an example, friendships breaking could be one, and there's lots of other ones, but those are some of the top ones that could, having a natural disaster come through and wipe your house out or cause extensive damage, having your car crash into, all these things could cause some chronic stress that could last longer than you want it to. Unemployment, most definitely. Having one of our basic needs of just having financial security to provide for ourselves, that will cause a lot of stress and a lot of people to do not the best stuff. Even think of maybe people robbing a local convenience store as an example. If they're unemployed, they feel that is the only way out for them to get some money to go buy food or whatever. That's a very stressful situation, and if the unemployment didn't happen, that whole series of events wouldn't happen either. And that leads to other not so good things. Chronic illness, if you come down with something, even COVID, we experienced that. COVID had a very chronic stress level for some people, not even just that they may never have gotten COVID, but being quarantined for 2 years, that causes stress, and people are still dealing with some of the ramifications of the impact that the pandemic had for us. Unhealthy relationships, definitely constant level of stress, arguing, tension. It just creates people to be not healthy or excited about what they're doing. So what are causes of stress? Well, physical. We have health injury. We've got illness, pollution, dietary, dehydration, substance abuse are some. We have physiological, emotions, perceptions, the way you think about this, your beliefs, your roles, your attitudes, worldview, and how things are going. We have a relationship difficulties that can challenge us from, as much of a spouse or even parent or grandparent or kids or siblings and our extended family causes a lot of stress. Loss of employment, loss of a loved one, being isolated. Humans are social creatures. We do need, as much as people don't want to people, we still need to people. We still need to be social on some level to be able to have the bandwidth on how to manage it all. Psycho-spiritual, so crisis of values, meaning and purpose. You just don't have that underlying understanding of why you're here in the first place. That in and of itself can cause a lot of problems, where if you find someone who's aligned with the work that they love and that they do on a regular basis, they are usually filled with a lot more joy, a lot more perseverance to overcome the stress that naturally comes with living life. You're not aligned with your core beliefs, feeling unfulfilled. These are all things that can really, really, really challenge you in a life situation. Common sources, and we have 63%, the future of our nation. So we've got politics, we've got religion, we have wars, we've got financial crisis, we have natural disasters. There's a lot of what is going to happen in the future. Just under that, we have money. So the money can be a big concern for you if you don't have enough, or if you have too much and you spend too much, then you still are living paycheck to paycheck. Even there's people that make millions of dollars a year still living paycheck to paycheck because of how they spend money, and they have significant amount of stress around income. Work, what you do is work will definitely impact the stress that you do. If you show up every day doing something you love and enjoy, it's not so stressful. I feel I'm in that direction, in that category. I work with people that want to work with me, that want to improve their health and their overall lifestyle and well-being. It becomes very exciting and thrilling when people show up and they do better. I had a lady just yesterday I talked to. She made extra money bartending this weekend because that's her part-time job as she goes to a full-time master's student to help pay the bills, because we organized her routines, got better sleep, were better organized with food. She actually had energy to show up. When she showed up at work with some energy, some spunk and can-do fun and energy about her, people gave her tips. She actually made a lot more, almost 1.5 times more than she normally makes on any given week. Now, certainly we could call that a coincidence or something, but it could also be the fact that you are going to you show up a lot better. Now, current political climate. So politics are certainly all over the place. We're not in an election year at this moment in time, but there are always things going on that cause what your political views are versus someone else's, versus the nation's, versus who's in charge as our president. And violence and crime are obviously sources. Nobody wants to be part of crime. It's not good. Now, perceived stress scale. So for each question, you can rate your perceived stress scale as a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0 being never, 4 being very often. And to determine your score, 13 to 0 could be low stress, 14 to 26 could be moderate stress, and high stress could be 27 to 40. So when you look through and perceive a certain amount of things that are going on in your life, then you can then start to see how much that perception, even going back to those last common sources of future nation, money, work, political climate, and violence, it's 5, we can start to see how that could add up to your overall level of stress. So what causes you stress? For me, just one is just a relational stress, no matter what. I have 5 people in my house. We have animals as well for the kids. There's 14 to 8, 3 boys and a girl, my wife and we have very demanding home life in a really fun, encouraging way. My kids are overachievers in such the wonderful way, but they have to be at school all the time, and they have all these activities, and then there's a certain amount of cost that goes to providing for them to engage in these opportunities. That in and of itself is very positive stress, but nonetheless, when they say that, they say the swimming program is raising their rates $70 this winter times 3 kids that swim, that's $210 all of a sudden that would need to be paid out, and that would be taken away from something else, another activity, so the kids could swim 3 days a week all winter long. That's a challenge all of a sudden. That's a stress that all families have to choose how they spend their money and whatnot. So those are things that cause me stress. Managing my clients in a very positive way is still stressful. I want to make sure that people are having a wonderful experience, changing their life, their habits or behaviors, and change is challenging. It can be definitely hard for people depending on how much they actually need to change. And so by focusing on a positive reaction to stress, then that would be wonderful to focus on and do. So those are ones that really kind of strike me a lot. Next up, we have symptoms of stress. What are these? Well, alarm. Stage 1 is alarm. We have fight, flight, or freeze response. Your body releases hormones, stress hormones, into the blood to get your heart rate up. Your perspiration, your breath, your muscle tense, digestion slows. Your body's preparing to take action. And this does it usually in a split second. Next up, stage 2, there's resistance. Body acclimates to stress and begins to repair itself. So the more that you apply yourself to stress, say standing in front of a room presenting, the more times that you get up in front of the room, the first couple are very nerve-wracking, but after so many times, it's just what you do. Even these presentations, I've given dozens of them, and I've talked in front of people for years. This is not a problem. I have no stress showing up and presenting myself and the material in a well-organized, thoughtful manner that ideally is engaging and keeping you focused. Now, the length of the stage depends on the intensity of the stressor. Sometimes stressful situations can be more impactful for you. Other times, not so much. They cause irritability, frustration, poor concentration. So there can be lapse in judgment times as well. There's just the perceived stress that's happening there. And if you're not, humans, we always want to do things well and excel in them. And depending on your level of experience, you might be more frustrated in the beginning of it. Oftentimes, if I have someone that needs to lose 40, 50 pounds, there might be potential for some irritability or frustration in the front end because they are not used to paying so much attention to what they're eating and what they're moving, and it costs a lot of extra energy and effort to create that in their life. Now we have exhaustion, result of prolonged chronic stress, difficulty seeing a way out. We have decreased stress tolerance, we have fatigue, burnout, depression, anxiety. We have a lot of different situations that come into play. Humans do need rest. We do need a break. That's what the Sabbath's for, right? The seventh day we have rest. You have to schedule that in sometimes if you have a very active, busy life. You can't just go at it with stress on stress on stress. You will burn out. Then that ultimately gives you a low quality of life. So how do you know when you are stressed? Well, let's talk. All right, number one, someone feels just a lot more low energy, obviously. Right? The stress is wearing you down. It's causing you to focus on that instead of other areas of your life. Yep, someone else says they end up feeling hungrier. Stress does cause some emotional eating as well. That's something, if you trend that way, you really have to pay attention. You can't just eat a whole roll of Oreos as an example just because you are stressed. That's not healthy decisions. Another one, I'm stressed when I'm getting ready to present in front of an audience. Well, that's a positive stress. Certainly stress nonetheless, but having the butterflies is a good thing, knowing that you are looking at doing and performing and entertaining and engaging in a really good way. So we do want to feel stress in a positive way that way. When I know I'm stressed, I generally just feel a little bit worn out. I can go pretty hard. I have a very high stress tolerance, just my own personal perception. So that is something that I can go, but I do have to have some downtime planned in, or nobody wants extended time. Let's say a sabbatical, someone overworks themselves for 5+ years and they have to take 3-4 months off. That's not necessarily a great relationship. We want you taking, say, a month off to go explore just because you had great vacation and you had adventures you needed to go on and live. All right, now there's a stress curve. So a level of performance is directly relation to the amount of stress that you can manage your best self. So if you have too little stress, you're underloaded. You're laid back, there's no action, there's no incentivization for you to perform better. We're looking for that bell curve at the top where we are maximizing the optimum amount of stress and too much stress so that you don't reach that total point of fatigue or exhaustion where you have to come down. And the more that we can get into that top part of the bell curve, that is our flow state, our ability to produce great outcomes, great conversations, great engagement, great solutions in your world. Now, as soon as we get past that point and the stress becomes too much, then we start to experience burnout, anxiety, panic, anger, breakdown, and frustration. People leave situations when there's too much stress, whether it's work or relationships. They check out. And so we want to manage that. So we want to find that peak performance for you of how much stress can you handle for how long before you do need some deload or rest time. That's where we say have the weekend to stop working. And so you have 5 days of work, and 2 days of rest. That could keep that optimum stress level in balance. So hopefully that does for you. That's your work situation. Next up is stress management. How do we actually manage our stress levels? Well, we've got a label wheel here. So love, we can use words like acceptance, gentle, affectionate, passionate, trusted. Fear could be vulnerable or rejected or insecure. Anger could be threatened, mad, or frustrated. Sadness could be labeled as lonely, guilty, uninterested. Happiness is excited, playful, or grateful. Surprise could be startled, could be amazed, shocked, or overwhelmed. And disgusted, resentful, shameful, bitter. These are ways that you can label and be more articulate to what it is that you are feeling and understand what the root cause is of those signs, symptoms, and the way you feel about it. Coping effectively. So number one, we absolutely have to be aware of what's happening in your world. Okay? By being more aware of your surroundings, of what's happening now in the moment, you are so much more able and capable to take action and get to it and invest and charge forth. Then we can have an increasing sense of control. If you know what the issue is that's causing the stress, internal or external, you can increase your sense of control and start to do something about it. We can cultivate gratitude and optimism and just make sure that we stay on the glass half type full mentality and energy to be able to move through and move out of the stressful times that you experience. We have useful emotional processing tools. What are stress coping strategies that you can use, such as journaling or meditation or music or dance or exercise or activity, relationships, bonding, playing games? All these things can be tools to help you check out or check out of the stressful situation that you're in quickly. You're able to recover faster. And that's the huge part. You will always be stressed in your life one way or another. How can you perceive it differently and bounce back quickly to get back into action? Because that's where life is lived most, through action and movement and doing things. Not sitting on the sideline, having a pity party, or just unfortunately getting depressed. You don't want to be depressed for 2 weeks. That's not exciting. That's not fun. That's not helpful for you as a person, as a whole, to live a really fun, enjoyable, loving life. Number 5 is changing your language. Big fan of language. When people talk to me, I'm listening with both ears and I speak with my one mouth. I'm listening to the words that they're saying and how they're saying it. Once I understand who the person is and what their general trends are or behaviors are, I can then take action to help them consider how to improve their language, their perception of this, their emotional tools, and the awareness level that they need to be. And how do they even get ahead of the curve that they're dealing with? That's super important. Strengthening coping skills. Well, we need to engage in reality testing. We need to check into what is happening in the here and the now, and making sure that what you believe to be true is actually true, and what you believe to be true is not actually false. So that in and of itself, if you could ask yourself, am what I'm believing, is that even true? That's a powerful question to stop and think. Utilizing positive self-talk. I'm a glass half person, a sun's always shining type person, so my self-talk is generally pretty positive. I have a good self-esteem and positive confident level. I think highly of myself, and I hope that radiates into the energy that I give off to people and thus my surrounding people that are around me most often. But if you trend not to feel that way, that's really important to note and understand. We don't want you just drowning in negativity. There's always negative in the world, so much so. And what do they say? It takes one positive outweigh 3 or 4 negatives. That's it. So 3 or 4 negatives will drown out any one positive in a quick hurry. We want to dedicate specific worry time. Meaning we just don't want to worry all day, but we actually want to set aside time to stop, think, and come up with a resourceful solution to the problem you're facing. If you can do that, then you can find answers that decrease and eliminate worry. That is significantly important, because if you can get ahead of it and stop it from manifesting itself into this whirlwind of a 2 or 3 day stress cycle, that's really important. Doing something you love. You got to do things that you love occasionally in life to just make it fun. My wife loves to travel, and we travel a fair amount. Our next adventure is to Finland. It's going to be really fun, really exciting, and I love living in anticipation. So no matter what's happening today, I know that trip is planned and that we're going on it, and I'm going to have time off, and I'm going to be able to thoroughly enjoy the experience that's going to be had for me. And that in and of itself allows me to take a step back and to breathe. Lastly, if you're a crier, just have a good cry out. Let it go. Like Elsa would say, just let it go, so you can free yourself from the emotional tightness that is grasping you. Just let it go. And if you can cry for a good 5 minutes, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I got past this. Okay, let's pull up my big kid pants and get to it. Now, healthy coping activity. What we can do is take 3 minutes time. We can stop and make a list of as many positive and effective coping skills that you can use to respond and stop for stresses. So let's take a moment here. Some of the ones that I'm going to throw out are things that I suggest to people all the time is breathe. Breathing in and breathing out. When you breathe, you can get connected with your body, with your mind, with your spirit. We can be grounded to the floor and to where you're sitting. So you want to feel the weight in the ground or in the seat or with your back. And then you feel presence. You're actually grounding yourself into the place that you're at. We can journal. Write down. Just start writing. We can have structured journal writing, or we can have unstructured, where it's just this flow of consciousness. Anytime I've ever sat down to write, I've written a lot more than I thought was in my brain. Wow, where did all this come from. Now, there's exercise. Go move. Even walking or doing exercise helps with releasing positive endorphins. People. Spending time with those that you enjoy being around. Talking, venting, or just doing a fun activity. Why do you have to vent for an hour? Why don't you just go out and do something fun for an hour with that person? That would be way more exciting and eliminate some of the stress straight away of something that you may or may not be able to solve anyways. That would be really ideal. We have meditation, where we have many forms of meditation. But the point there is you calm your mind, calm your energy, your spirit, your body to focus inward and breathe. Those are some that I come up with off my head that are useful strategies and I like doing a lot. Progressive relaxation. I really enjoy this. You keep sinking lower and lower into the depths of the relaxation state. So breathing deep, focus for minutes of deep breath. Listening to a playlist that has warm, inviting music that creates a chill. I have my own YouTube chill playlist that I do. So sometimes if I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed or more stress is impacting me, I can go to that and music will calm and bring peace to me so I can think better, more clear, and differently. Being out in nature without screens or technology, a wonderful way to get out. We're constantly looking at screens nowadays, not actually getting into nature, and that's where the root of our species lies, is being outdoors and being in nature. Drawing a bath or shower. I love a hot tub soak. I have a hot tub. I'll spend time in that. Sometimes my wife and I will catch up in there as time spent. So it's a wonderful place to just be. Lastly, taking a 1-minute vacation. What that means is you can literally check out and go to the last place that you were at and revisit the memories that you can think of on the spot. And ideally that brings you warmth, love, peace, and even excitement in that situation to just feel better. So those are some different ways to relax. Yoga, too. So morning pages, stream of consciousness, journal habit done first thing in the morning. I've been journaling or writing down my most important tasks. So every day I'm writing down what matters most as my needle movers to move me along. And that's really important for me to know and understand. So after waking, grab a journal. You can write 3 pages of longhand or even 3 paragraphs or 3 bullet points. Avoid filtering your thoughts. Just put words on the paper of whatever you think. It'll be very freeing once you stop limiting yourself. Whether you share with someone or not, it doesn't matter. Ideally, you would at some point read it again, but also you could just write it out, get it out of your head, get it on the paper, and think more clearly. Stop when you've written at least 3 full pages or you've completed the task at hand. So I'd love for you to try this singular activity tomorrow and see how things go. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to wake up 10 minutes earlier to do that. It's okay to go to bed 10 minutes earlier so that you don't lose any sleep and you can practice this writing exercise. Breath of fire. Breathing technique involving passive, normal inhalations and powerful, rapid exhalation. So let's go through this. So what you do is sit tall in your seat, legs cross-legged position, just like you're in a Zen yoga state. Inhale through your nose. You want to breathe in your belly, expand through your belly button, pulling the depth of the air down there. You want to pull, without pausing, forcefully exhale through your nose. You breathe in, and you exhale. And you breathe in, and then you exhale. And you breathe in, and you exhale. But speeding up while keeping inhales and exhales equal in length. When you repeat this several times to practice It really gets your innards going. It gets your insides. It gets your brains. It fills your body with oxygen and air. Now, how we prevent stress, we establish healthy boundaries. We want to set realistic goals. We want to learn to prioritize. We're looking for plan Bs or even plan Cs in your everyday life. And most importantly, we need to be able to delegate tasks when it's efficient. So realistic times in the realistic goals in the real amount of time, having good, healthy boundaries that surround that creates less stress. Of course, exercise. We always want to exercise regularly. At least 30 minutes a day of movement works. I'm a big fan of 10K steps on my watch, getting outside, breathing, blood flow, endorphins. You just feel better. Everyone feels better after they move. Catching up on Z's, of course, sleep is incredibly important for us. The less sleep you get, the more unhealthy you're going to be, and the more anxiety and lack of resistance and resiliency to stress that you'll have to deal with and have to cope, because you won't be rested. Everything will seem harder and more powerful in a sense against you. So emotional reactivity amplified 60% with sleep deprivations. You just literally feel things a lot harder because you are not rested. Practicing good sleep hygiene means getting to bed at the same consistent time, trying to get as much consistent time in bed and ideally asleep, and having consistent wake time so you don't wake up at 6 a.m. one day and 11 a.m. in another. That's not really helpful. Keeping your room dark, cool, quiet allows for you to settle in and feel a lot better about getting into the sleep habit routine itself. Creating a wind down routine. So important. I do Sudoku. My wife reads a book. We talk and we don't have screens because that keeps us amplified and in tune and have lots of stressor type things coming at us, the attention grabbing type stuff. So having a powerful sleep routine will clearly keep stress away. Of course, we want to find support. Finding those trusted people around you that love and support and care for you and are champions for who you are and what you do. You can talk, you can express, you can go through an emotional processing to understand the situation to ideally relieve the stress. If your cause of stress involves the people you typically turn to support, try other options. We can journal, we can pray, support groups, therapy, we can find that. So if you have, unfortunately, a lot of stress internally in, say, the relationship, we can find other ways to manage without creating more negative situations for the person or your situation with those people. So which stress management technique are you going to prioritize this week? For me, I'm going to continue my most important tasks, writing those down to keep me clear, focus on what makes the most sense for me to take action on. Number 2, I'm going to make sure I sleep as best I can. That is always a challenge, so prioritizing sleep is really important. And for me, the last one, exercising. Having regular exercise, I love exercise. It gives me that look good, feel good mentality and energy that I want for myself. So those would be the 3 that I have for myself. So the conclusion, stress is an automatic physical, mental, emotional response to a challenging event. You're going to experience stress regardless. It's going to be acute, it's going to be potentially longer acute, or it's going to be chronic. The external and internal relationship of how you manage stress and how you cope with it is going to be your way out, your get out of stress free card in a sense. If you have unmanaged stress, it'll lower the quality of life and negatively impact your health. Incorporating life skills that prevent stress, help you cope, and relax your body and mind will really help you effectively manage stress as well. So I want to thank you very much for showing up today, and feel free if you have questions, just simply reach out. I really would appreciate doing all that.